What's going on, guys? My name's Johnny, and if you're new to video editing or just want to learn Premiere Pro for the first time, this video is for you. It's going to be part one of a series I do that teaches you the basics of Premiere Pro. In today's video specifically, I'm going to go over how to import a video, we're going to do basic edits, audio, and then finally how to export your final video. So with that being said, let's go ahead and open up Premiere Pro. When you open it up, you're going to be greeted with this screen right here. If you have any recent projects, they're going to end up in front of you. For today, we're going to go ahead and go to the new project up in the top left. Alright, now that we've clicked that, you're going to come up with this screen here. You can rename it. I'm going to call it tutorial video, and then you can adjust the location. So I'm going to change this to, let's go ahead and put this on my desktop. The last thing you want to do on this screen is under video rendering and playback, go ahead and make sure CUDA is selected. That just makes sure your GPU is optimized in order for Premiere Pro to run faster. Go ahead and hit OK. So once you hit OK, you're going to open up this workspace right here. This is the effects workspace. It's identified by the top where it has effects highlighted. There are many different workspaces. You have editing, color, audio, so on and so forth. Each one just kind of makes it a little bit easier depending on what process you're in. So today we're going to be working in the effects workspace. Now if you don't see this right here, you can go ahead and go up to Window, Workspaces, and then hit Effects. And I know there's a lot of stuff, but stick around and I'm going to show you exactly what panels that you need to use in order to make a video. So the first one we're going to go into is the project panel. That's going to be on the bottom left here. Right where it says import media to start, there's two ways you can import media. You can double click it. Doing so opens this right here, or if you have your folder open and stuff, you can just highlight, drag everything on there. So it's up to you what you want to do. I'm just going to go ahead and double click it and then find the files that I need. Alright, so I found the files that I need and I'm going to go ahead and highlight it and then just hit open. Once I do this, everything gets dragged into Premiere Pro. So to me this is a little bit kind of jumbled. I'm going to go ahead and organize it a little bit more by clicking this folder icon. It's to create a new bin. I'm going to name this one audio. This step is completely optional and you don't have to do it, but if you're OCD like me, all you got to do is drag this into the new bin, and I'm going to drag my audio files into there, and it makes it a little bit neater. If you don't have a lot of files, then you can definitely skip this step, but if you have a lot, go ahead and feel free to organize as needed. I also have B-roll footage, so I'm going to go ahead and select my B-roll. The way I selected these right here is simply by holding the control key on my keyboard and then clicking the items that I want, and then highlighting it and then going into B-roll. And now it looks a lot cleaner to me. So if I want to access my audio, I just simply double click that bin and my audio is right here. In order to go back to that project panel, just click project up here. And if for some reason you can't see this folder icon, chances are that this panel is closed or compressed, so you can go ahead and click the side and drag it. That's how you compress it. You can open it, and as you can see, that bin icon pops up. You can essentially do this for every single panel on Premiere. Like up here, you can drag it up, down. You can really customize it. So with that being said, let's go ahead and edit our video. You can actually edit straight on the timeline if you want to. So I'm going to drag my main footage. I'm going to click this one, highlight it, and then go ahead and let go onto the timeline. This is my footage. Identified here on the V1 is video 1, and then right under that is A1, which means audio 1. I have video and audio because I recorded both in my camera. Now, if I was playing this video and say I didn't want it to start in the very beginning, because I'm not in the screen yet, and I want it to start here, for example, I could simply go to the end of my footage, and there's going to be a little handle that pops up. Go ahead and hold it and drag it to where you want it to start, and that's going to be your new start. Same thing goes for the end. So if I scrub over to the end of my footage and say I want it to end here, I can simply grab that little handle and drag it in, and that's my new endpoint. So now I've shortened the length of my video to where I want it to be. But what happens if I have like a blooper reel or a little bit of an outtake in the middle? I'll show you how to get rid of that as well. So let's say this little area right here I want to get rid of. Simply go to the area where you want to cut it. So I'm going to start here and hit this razor tool. I'm going to click the part I don't want and then where that part ends. Let's say over here. Click it. And now it's created that little segment. Go ahead and click the selection tool. Click the part you don't want and then hit delete on your keyboard. Now that part of the video is gone and you're left with what you want. However, now you're left with this little bit of a blank space. So we just got to fill that in with that video, and you can just hold the second video and drag it in, and it'll just snap right into place. Or alternatively, you can right click the blank space and hit ripple delete, and that'll just shift everything over so that it's touching. Same thing with the beginning here. Since we cropped it in the beginning, there's going to be that bit of a blank space. We're just going to go ahead and right click and hit ripple delete. And that's essentially how you can edit videos on a timeline. This is really simple if you only have 1 or 2 videos, but if you have a bunch of videos like I do, like I have 4 different B-roll clips, I'm assuming you can see how jumbled and complicated this timeline can get. So we can actually edit it before putting it on the timeline, and I'll show you how to do that. So this video right here, I'm going to go ahead and double click it, and it pops up this little source window here. It's essentially the same thing as a timeline where you can edit the inputs and outputs. So if I want the video to start here, I simply hit I, that's my new input. And if I want it to end here, I simply hit O, and that's my new output. You can simply drag this straight into the timeline, just like you did before, but now it has already the pre-selected ins and outs. So it's kind of hard to see because it's a smaller video, so I'm going to zoom in. You can zoom in by grabbing this circle right here and holding it and then dragging it to your left. Or alternatively, you can hold Alt on your keyboard and just use your scroll wheel. So as you can see, here's my B-roll footage right here. And it looks kind of weird, right? It's a little bit smaller, and this is obviously the full screen. That's because these are in 2 different resolutions. So this footage right here, my main footage, is in 4K, and my B-roll is in 1080p. So I actually want my output source to be in 1080p, so I'm going to change that now. I'm going to go up to sequence settings, and then type in 1920 by 1080. That's full HD resolution, and now my B-roll is taking up the full screen, but my main footage is too punched in. To fix that, simply right click your main footage and then go ahead and hit scale to frame size. And now they're both the same resolution. Alright, so another cool thing about this source panel right here is that if you don't want audio and video, like for example, this is B-roll and I just want the video, you just hold this icon right here that says drag video only, and when you drag that into your timeline, there's no audio track, which is pretty cool. But say for example, you know, like this video right here, if I only wanted the audio of it, I can drag that as well and it'll pull up just the audio, which is pretty neat. And if you wanted to make sure both ended at the same time, just like I showed you before, go ahead and grab that right handle and bring it in so that it matches. Obviously, I'm not going to match up the audio from one B-roll to another. It's just an example in case you have different type of shots that you do want to match up. With that being said, let's go ahead and talk about audio. So as indicated before, A1 is your audio track. You can actually increase the size of this by simply going under where this line is, and it shows this icon. Hold it and drag it down, and now you can actually see where my audio track is. It's actually indicated by the meter to the right. As you can see, I'm actually talking about negative 40 decibels or so. Ideally, you want to be above negative 12, and you want to keep it within the negative 3 threshold. So a quick way to do this is by right-clicking your footage, go ahead and hit audio gain, and then normalize all peaks to 0. This is just a fast way to bring stuff up, making sure it doesn't peak. So as we scrub through, you can see I'm at about, my peak right here is negative 3, negative 6, that's pretty good. And the rest of it is around negative 12. So I can increase this just a little tiny bit. I'm gonna probably increase it by 2 or so. I wanna make sure that peak still doesn't peak. So I'm gonna go up to it and hit play. So that was a little bit of an outtake actually. I think I was clearing my throat. So we'll just ignore that because I'll cut that later in post. So let's look at the actual footage that I'm gonna keep and see where I'm peaking. And I'm at about negative 12. So I'm pretty good with that. If you want to make it a little bit higher, go ahead and fine tune this. You know, you can adjust your gain by say like another 5 or so. Let's see. And that brings me up to about negative 3 or so. And I think that's pretty good. The biggest thing is you don't want it to clip and hit 0. So like I said, this is an outtake right here. And if I play it, you'll see that it's going to peak. And that 0 lights up. That means my audio is way too loud. In my final footage, I'm not going to include that, so that's why I'm kind of ignoring it right now. But for my other footage, it's peaking at about negative 1, negative 2, which you're still fine with. If you don't feel comfortable with that, like I said before, go ahead and fine tune it, drop it down by 1 or 2 decibels, and then you're good to go for your audio. So essentially, you're just going to want to do this for all your footage until everything's about the same audio levels, making sure nothing's peaking, and making sure that you can hear everything. And also if you want to add music under, for example. So I'm going to go ahead and make this a little bit smaller so I can hit A2. And I'm going to open up my audio bin. So if you have a song, you can go ahead and drag it under. So now I'm going to go ahead and drag this all the way down. We'll say that's the beginning of my clip, right? But the thing with this audio is that it's also just as loud. So if we mute the first one and just play the audio, the music, it's really, really loud. So something I would highly suggest is if you're trying to do like some type of vlogging and adding music with it, definitely make your music a lot lower. I like to bring it down by around 20 or 18, and you can have a fair balance between music and making sure that it's not overpowering. And that's more than good enough for me. Make sure you unmute it, listen to your track, see what works best for you. This is what works best for me. And just keep doing that until everything is the way you want it to be. So assuming you're able to edit all your videos and audios and cut everything together, let's talk about some transitions. So I'm gonna go ahead and zoom into here. This right here is considered a jump cut because I'm going to go from one clip and then it's just going to jump to the other, and it's kind of jarring at times. If you want to fix that and add like a fade or make it a little bit smoother, I'll show you how to do so. If we go to the top right, go ahead and click Effects. We're going to search for Cross Dissolve. Once you find Cross Dissolve, simply click it and then drag it in between the two clips where you want that effect to be applied. Go ahead and hit play. And as you can see, it adds that dissolve. Now, if this is too slow for you, you can actually grab the transition itself and a little handle pops up. And if you bring it closer and hit play, the transition speeds up, and vice versa. If it's too fast, you can grab it and extend how long you want it to be. This is one of the most common transitions that people use, and there are plenty that come with Premiere Pro. Simply go up to the Effects tab. I'm going to clear the search bar, but go to the Effects tab, hit Video Transitions, and there are so many that you can find. Some of them are kind of cheesy, some of them are pretty good, but play around with it, and if you're not a fan of jarring jump cuts, consider putting these in between your clips. So with that being said, that's about it for the video. Now let's talk about exporting. So if I've done everything and everything's the way I want it to be, audio is good, we're going to go ahead and move to exporting. To do that, go to File, Export, Media. By default, mine format is AVI. I'm going to go ahead and change that. I'm going to go to H.264. Once that's changed, we'll go to output name. So this is going to be different than the project name. Project name is your Premiere Pro project. Output name is going to be your actual video project. So I'm going to go to desktop because that's where I want it to save. I'm going to name this tutorial video. And as you can see, my Premiere Pro project is on there, but this is going to be different. Like I said, this is an MP4. Hit save. And now let's talk about resolutions. As I told you guys before, I want it to be 1920 by 1080. This is where you guys can actually change that right here. If you wanted it to be, 3840 by 2160, that's 4K resolution. That's where you can change it. And as you can see, this button makes sure that the formatting is linked. So if you're someone who likes to shoot vertical for TikTok or Instagram Reels or even YouTube Shorts, most people shoot at 1080 by 1920. But as you can see, the height automatically changes to my previous aspect ratio. In order to change that, go ahead and just click this icon and that deselects it. And now type in 1920. And now it'll have your vertical composition. My frame rate is 23.976. That's what I normally shoot at. If you're someone who likes to shoot at 30 or 29.97, that's where you change it. And then everything else we're going to leave at about the same. So I'm going to change this back to 1920 by 1080. That's perfect. And then my last thing I'm going to do is hit use maximum render quality. And then you simply hit export. And that's about it to make your first video, guys. So as you can see, making videos seems kind of complicated in Premiere Pro, but if you follow these easy steps, you can get very basic videos out of the way. So if you like this type of video, guys, make sure to stick around for the next ones. Like I said, I'm going to make this into a little bit of a series, and I hope you guys learned something from it.